Welcome back with us from Key West, Florida. This video is looking at military points of interest in around the island and surrounding Keys. One of the more unusual things in the Keys is the Air Force blimp affectionately nicknamed Fat Albert by the locals. It is located 20 miles north of Key West on Cudjoe Key. For a closer view, you turn off US 1 conveniently onto Blimp Road. It is one of 8 remaining blimps along the U.S. southern border. There are actually 2 TARS, tethered aerostat radar system blimps on Cudjoe Key that have been spying on the Keys since 1978, weather permitting. One was originally owned by the State Department to transmit TV Marti, an American television signal, into Cuba. It is now used by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and the Coast Guard in counter-drug trafficking operations. The other blimp is also used in counter-drug operations by the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD. These blimps are approximately 250,000 cubic feet in size and have a radar detection range of 200 miles. The Casa Marina Hotel was built by railroad magnate Henry Flagler and opened in 1920. Through eminent domain, it was purchased by the U.S. Navy in 1942 and used as officers' quarters until 1946. It reverted back to a hotel and quickly became a celebrity hotspot during the 50s. In 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the hotel was used by the U.S. Army 6th Missile Battalion. Barbed wire encircled the hotel and missiles were placed on its beach area pointed toward Cuba. Barbed wire, machine guns, and Army Hawk anti-aircraft missiles were also placed along Smathers Beach, which is located on South Roosevelt Boulevard to the east. In a few days, the military population on the island went from 3,000 to 15,000. Armed guards were stationed at all 43 bridges along US 1. In the laid-back tradition of the Keys, the locals cruised the beach in chance of a good photo. After the Cuban Missile Crisis, the property fell into disrepair until 1979, when it was purchased and extensively renovated. As the Cuban Missile Crisis escalated in 1962, 4 Army Hawk anti-aircraft missile batteries were hastily installed in the Key West area. The Army's 6th Missile Battalion was deployed to Key West. This battery was designated Bravo Battery. Alpha Battery was on the tip of Fleming Key. Charlie and Delta batteries set up shop on the Boca Chica Naval Air Station. You can still visit the Bravo Battery and view a piece of the Cuban Missile Crisis history. It is located in Key West off Flagler Avenue. Turn on Government Road and drive to the end. The Hawk missiles were state-of-the-art surface-to-air missiles designated to intercept any incoming aircraft. The missiles were placed in groups of 3 onto a launcher to form a battery. They were then protected by large embankments called berms. The battery also housed the radar and guidance control for the missiles. The batteries were active until 1979. Fun fact, the 1987 movie Ruskies was partially filmed in Key West and shows scenes of the battery. The Naval Air Station, located on Boca Chica, was originally established during World War II as an auxiliary airfield and commissioned in 1945. The NAS played a crucial role during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, providing air support for the Cuban blockade and aerial reconnaissance photos of Cuban bases. Today, the NAS serves primarily as an air-to-air combat training facility for fighter aircraft of all military services. The station has excellent flying conditions year-round and aerial ranges that provide aircrew training soon after takeoff. The Veterans Memorial Garden is located on the corner of Truman Avenue and Jose Marti Drive. A similar but scaled-down version of the garden is located in Old Town Mallory Square. When you enter the garden, the Yellow Fever Monument is at the entrance. It is a memorial to the 90th and 91st New York Regiments, honoring the 300 Union troops who died from the disease while stationed in Key West during the Civil War. It lists the names of the soldiers. Next is the Purple Heart plaque, which is dedicated to all who were wounded or killed as a result of enemy action while serving in the U.S. military. These individuals served at great sacrifice to themselves, some even paying the ultimate price while in the line of duty. The Key West plaque honors men and women of all conflicts. As you go around the circle, the garden holds 12 pedestals featuring storyboards representing major conflicts the U.S. has been involved with since the birth of our nation. They are the American Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, Iraq War, and the Afghanistan War. Each plaque gives information about the specific war and lists how many died in each conflict. The 6 circular plaques to the right are for the 6 branches of the armed forces. The Korean War Monument honors Key Westers who served in the war. Next is the Vietnam War Living Memorial Wall, listing the 360 veterans from Key West who served in that conflict. The POW MIA Wall is dedicated to those soldiers still unaccounted for and includes a map of the battle zones. To the right of the POW MIA Wall is the memorial honoring the 36 Key Westers who gave the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. It is titled, All Gave Some Gave All, and includes their names. In the center of the Korean and Vietnam memorials is a bronze sculpture of a soldier's helmet, M16 rifle, and boots. This is known as the Fallen Soldier Battle Cross. As we walk through the garden's pavilion, there are additional memorials off to the right. The first is the Congressional Gold Medal. It is a memorial honoring the Montford Point Marines, who were the first African Americans admitted into the U.S. Marine Corps. The plaque explains their service and honors 13 Key Westers who served among them. Next is a statue honoring African American soldiers from Key West who fought in the Civil War. Colonel James Montgomery, who headed the 2nd South Carolina Regiment, traveled to Key West to recruit a regiment of free blacks and former refugee slaves. He would later lead these troops during battles in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. The Agent Orange marker is dedicated to veterans who died from exposure to this deadly chemical. One of the more recent additions to the garden is the Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder plaque. It is located near the edge of the garden by the POW MIA wall and is dedicated to all who suffer from PTSD from the Vietnam War. This is Trumbo Point. It is home to the U.S. Coast Guard base and military housing. Over to our northwest, we have Fleming Key, which is owned by the U.S. Navy, and it is home for Special Forces, Combat, Diving, and Underwater Operations team. Trumbo Point is a man-made addition to Key West constructed by Henry Flagler for use as the southern terminus of the Florida East Coast Railway. Construction was done by the Trumbo Dredging Company. It was purchased by the U.S. Navy in 1917 for use as a seaplane and dirigible base. The seaplane taxi ramps can still be seen in aerial views leading up to what is now the helicopter landing area, but was originally the hangar area. Fleming Key is an island off the northwest corner of Key West. It is part of the Naval Air Station and houses the Army Special Forces Underwater Operations School. Members of the U.S. Army Green Beret, U.S. Army Rangers, and U.S. Army National Guard and allies undergo a rigorous 6-week course at this facility to become combat divers. Sigsbee Park is a man-made island built from the residual dredge left over from the construction of the Trumbo seaplane base in the 40s. It is primarily used for military housing. Originally called Dredge Key, the name was later changed to Sigsbee Park in honor of the captain of the battleship USS Maine, Charles Sigsbee. Sigsbee eventually was promoted to admiral and remained active in causes supporting survivors and families of those who perished in the Maine explosion. This is the Coast Guard cutter Ingraham, named after the Secretary of Treasury. It is the only U.S. Coast Guard ship that has received 2 presidential unit citations. It became a museum in 2009. The Commandant of the Coast Guard has declared this a memorial to fallen Coast Guardsmen from World War II and Vietnam. There's a plaque on deck that has the list of all 912 casualties. The Ingraham has the second longest service duty, with only the Constitution being in service longer. The Ingraham also contains on-deck artifacts, research materials, memorabilia, a photographic gallery, and ongoing educational programs. The Truman Annex started as part of Fort Zachary Taylor Army Base in 1845. In 1947, the base was transferred to the U.S. Navy and renamed the Truman Annex Naval Station. The base was closed in 1974, and much of the land was sold to private developers who created a gated community. This does not create a barrier for touring the area or visiting the Little White House, President Truman's Key West home. You can access the annex through the Southern Street Gate. Truman Waterfront Park is in the rear of the annex, offering a view of the Florida Straits. The Navy built several brick buildings at the base between the Spanish-American War and World War I. They include Building 7, the machine shop, which extends for 200 feet along Front Street and was built in 1902. Also constructed in 1902 was Building 21. It was used as the electrical workshop, storage, and marine barracks. The Foundry Building, number 11, was erected in 1904 and used as the blacksmith and steam engineering machine shop. Next is the old Marine Hospital, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It was constructed at the request of U.S. Navy Commodore David Porter. Construction began in 1844. The facility had 60 beds and served civilians and military personnel for 90 years. The hospital eventually closed its doors on January 1, 1943. It is one of 8 marine hospitals designed by Robert Mills, a famous American architect who studied under Thomas Jefferson. He also designed the Washington Monument and the Smithsonian Institution. The United States Weather Bureau weather station was built in 1912. From 1912 to 1957, it served as a vital link in the National Weather Bureau's network of forecasting locations and was often on the front line predicting the path of hurricanes. This location is currently a historic hotel. We're at the Truman Waterfront Park, located in the back of the annex. Following the end of World War I, the naval station transformed the waters inside of the outer mole pier into a submarine training base. 5 metal finger docks were built to service submarines. During World War II, German U-boats sank 49 ships off the coast of Florida. The primary role of submarines stationed here during World War II was training for sonar detection of enemy ships and protection of Allied supply convoys in the Atlantic. The base was decommissioned in 1974 as nuclear submarines replaced diesel-powered ones. The park is a 33-acre recreational area now along the seawall. The area offers a quiet getaway from the hustle and bustle of Duval Street. You can enjoy a walk along the paved waterfront path or stroll through the trees. The park also has areas for family activities, sports activities, and a splash pad for kids. The Coast Guard cutter Ingraham is located here also. This peaceful area offers wonderful views of the waterfront and amazing sunsets. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this adventure with Two for the Road, and we hope to see you again soon.